Mhm. Good day and welcome back to the Vitality Project. I'm Dr. Bob and I want to thank you for joining me today. Thank you. Yesterday we examined what we called negative self-talk and uh, how it is that an initial disappointment with ourselves or maybe a frustration with something, some kind of situation that's frustrating to us, how these can activate what we're calling our depressor. And when that depressor gets activated, it oftentimes will lead us, much more often than we'd like to, into addictive urges or cravings. And it makes sense if you stop and think about it, because we're looking for at least temporary relief from the pain of that negative self-talk. So, it stands for us we need to find skillful means for deactivating the depressor. So for today, I'd like to try an exercise with you where we actively move our bodies and our brains from what we've described as the red alert mode. This is the fight or flight mode in the emotional center of the brain. This is the depressor's familiar home. That's where it lives. We want to move from that red alert mode into what we call resting brain. And this is where the depressor loses traction. So we want to try an exercise that will help us move from red alert to resting. So to start off then, before we write anything down, we'll do that in a couple of minutes, but before we do that, let's take 5 minutes for a mindfulness of the breath exercise. I'll give you the instructions here. You can practice it on your own, I'd say for a maximum of 5 minutes, and then there'll be a journaling exercise to follow on it. If you've done this before, it'll be familiar. And if you haven't joined me, let me just give you, these are very brief, just a few sentences for instruction for how to practice mindfulness of the breath. You begin by closing your eyes and then begin to slowly breathe in through your nose. Notice as the breath goes down into your stomach that your stomach will naturally rise on its own. Watch it as it rises slowly, and then notice that it slowly falls as you release your breath. While you're doing this, thoughts will cross your mind, sensations may arise in your body. Just let them come and go. In other words, if your mind wanders as you're following your breath, just gently return your attention to the rising and falling of your stomach with each mindful breath. That's the instruction. So take 5 minutes to do that, okay? And when you've completed that, here's what I want you to do next. I want you to go back to our most recent previous exercise where I'd asked you to select the depressor thought that feels the worst to you. It's the negative self-talk that really fouls you up. I want you to write it down again inside of a circle or an oval that you draw on a blank piece of paper. And outside that oval, I want you to write down maybe a half a dozen related thoughts that come to your mind as you concentrate on this particular troubling depressor thought. I want you to make note of any differences between today's mind-body map, which is following on this mindfulness exercise, and our previous exercise and the previous map that you wrote, which was completed without a mindfulness intervention. I want you to make note of it. Relative to that earlier experience, is your mind cluttered or clear? Is your body tense or relaxed? And in this mind-body state here, following on the mindfulness exercise, how do you feel emotionally? Can you describe that? And then finally, how might you act based on this state of mind and body? What might you do? In fact, let me ask a final question after the final comment there. In comparing today's resting brain response, in comparing that, following on the mindfulness, this resting brain response, as you compare that to our previous exercise, it would be much more red alert brain response, directly in response to the depressor. Ask yourself this question: which mode allows you more effective coping, specifically with negative self-talk? Which brain mode, resting brain or red alert mode, allows you more space, more flexibility to work creatively and effectively with the negative self-talk? Let's see what you find, okay? In the meantime, I want to thank you again for joining me. Thanks for giving some part of your day to spend with me here. I wish you well with this exercise. I look forward to connecting with you again. Between now and then, please stay safe and be well. I'll see you again soon.